In a study, there was these college students. I don't know the exact specifics of it, of what college it was and whatever, but there was 10 college students who were shown the exact same photo of a teacher. They had no idea who the teacher was, they had never met him before, they hadn't even heard what he sounds like. But just based on what he looked like alone, the way his body language was, the way his hairstyle was, the way he dressed, 9 out of 10 of them could guess the exact way that he would act and could guess how good of a teacher he would be. So what does this say about humans and first impressions? What if you meet a cute girl for the first time and you mess up the first impression? What if you meet a new friend for the first time and you mess up a first impression? Does it really not matter, or does it actually make all of the difference between how much that person likes you? Me and you are probably pretty similar. I used to think that first impressions didn't matter, and well, once they get to know me, then it will be better, so it doesn't really matter how I meet them and how well I give them a handshake, because once they get to know my personality, they'll like me. Like, I'm sure you hear that shit all the time, but I don't look at people based on their looks, I only look by personality. Shut the hell up, bro. Of course you look at people based on their looks. It's natural human instinct. We used to have to know whether the person or animal in front of us was an ally or an enemy, and based on a 2-second analysis when we first seen them in our eyes, we had to assess whether we were going to attack them, run away, or if they were a friend. And your brain hasn't changed. First impressions make a huge difference. So in today's video, I'm going to teach you 7 ways to make a perfect first impression and have people like you immediately. Number 1, dress nicer. Simply the easiest way to improve your first impressions with people is to stop dressing like a bum. But Adam, I don't have money to dress nice. Shut up, bro. You have enough money to pay for $100 video games, yet you don't have enough money to buy a nice $40 shirt. Think of the value you could gain from simply making better first impressions. Do you think it would be worth $40? I personally think the value you'll get from it will be well worth $40. The amount more friendships and relationships you will gain from simply just making a better first impression provides you with way more value than simply paying $40 for a shirt. So you have enough to buy some nicer clothes and you have enough to dress nicer. You just don't want to. Think of people in today's society.
I'm in the ghetto.
Think of people in today's society. Most of them literally wake up in their dirty, sweaty, smelly pajamas and don't even bother to get dressed. They maybe throw on a hoodie and that's what they wear all day. Think of what first impression it makes when you're wearing some dirty ass, smelly, nasty pajamas. Well, their brain is gonna assess that you're a dirty, smelly bum. Is that the first impression you wanna leave that cute girl with? That you're a dirty, smelly bum who wears pajamas all day? Of course not. You want people to assume that you are a well-groomed, well-looking person. So the way you should properly dress to make the best first impression is to dress at the top of wherever you're going to. It would be a little weird if you were to dress in a nice suit to your friend's birthday party, unless the birthday party was in an environment where everyone else was wearing a nice suit. If anything, it would actually make a weirder first impression for you to be wearing a suit when everyone else was wearing just a normal shirt. So what you do instead is dress at the top of everyone else. As I mentioned, we used to have to know if the person we just seen is part of the tribe or is trying to attack the tribe. And the way we would do that is by what they're wearing. If someone's wearing tribal gear that doesn't look like our tribal gear, we know that they are an enemy. Number 2 is body language. Think of your body language. Think of if you have your hands closed off and hidden in your pockets, or if you have your hands open. Which one looks like you're gonna attack someone and which one looks like you're gonna be a friendly person? If your body language is open and warm, well, people are gonna think you're an open and warm person. If your body language is closed off, people are gonna think you're a closed off person. If you have poor posture and you don't really put much thought into the way you're sitting and the way you're standing, well, people will think you're a pretty lazy person. All these things make a minuscule difference in what people's brains assess that you're gonna act like when they first go up to meet you. So unless you're trying to look intimidating, don't keep your arms crossed, don't keep your hands in your pockets, stand up with some good posture and give a little smile. When you walk around, keep your eyes straight, keep your arms open, keep your chest up, and you'll be good. If you're a man and you're sitting in a room full of men, you should keep your legs open and take up as much space as possible because that portrays more confidence. If you were in a situation where you were, say, talking to a girl, you wouldn't want to portray too much confidence and too much dominance because then she'll get the wrong feel from you. So it's all about social intelligence and social awareness. So as I mentioned, if you're in a situation where you want to show more confidence and dominance, taking up more space is better. If you're in a situation where you're talking to a girl, it might be better to lay off being like this when you have an invisible lat syndrome when you're talking to her. Number 3, have a good handshake. Now, most young men don't even shake someone's hand when they first meet them. It's very, very crucial that you give someone a good handshake when you first meet them, because that is almost the first connection between you two. And if that connection goes badly, they will always think of you badly. If you give them a limp, shitty handshake where you're just like, oh yeah, nice to meet you, they'll think of you as someone who puts no effort into them. Even if you're a really nice person and you have a really good personality, they won't give a shit because you just gave them a bad handshake. You showed them that you don't even care enough to put some effort into your handshake. Having a good handshake goes a long way, so I'm going to teach you a few ways to improve your handshake. Number 1, as I mentioned, don't be limp. Don't give someone a dead fish handshake. Don't be like this when you shake them. Shake with a good amount of firmness to it. Actually put effort into it. Number 2, use your right hand. Now there might be some left-handed people watching this, but a handshake used to signify that you were giving away your weapon hand. Because say you were to have a gun on your right side, if they had your hand like this, they knew that you weren't going to grab your gun and shoot them because you had their dominant hand. Not saying that you can't use your left hand if you're left hand dominant, but when you give someone a handshake, try and remember to do it with your right. If you do it with your left, there's a high chance that they're not left-handed, and then they'll have to use their left hand, and then the handshake will be all awkward because they'll go with their right hand, then you'll go with their left hand, and then you'll be like this, and then you won't really know what to do. And that completely ruins someone's first impression on you. So always use your right, no matter if you're left-handed or right-handed. Always use your right hand. Number 3, neither shake from the dominant position or the submissive position. You want to shake right directly straight. You don't want to portray when you're first meeting someone that you are too dominant or that you are too submissive and weak. So you want to show that you are just an even level to them, because that helps them feel more comfortable and confident when they're talking to you. Especially when you're meeting a girl, they do not like when you do the dominant thing where you put your hand down and like grab their hand all awkwardly. It's better if you just shake neutrally, because then they're not forced to be the submissive one or the dominant one, and they can feel better when talking to you. The next step is use the same amount of force as they use. If someone shakes your hand and they start gripping the hell out of it, yeah, use the same amount of pressure. But if someone grabs your hand kind of in between, don't be that guy that's like fucking crushing their hand, because although it's good to have a firm handshake, and I said don't be limp, people won't appreciate when you're squeezing the hell out of your hand. So it's better to match their amount of firmness, not be weaker, not be more strong, but to match it instead. And finally, try and keep your hand flat and not cupped. You want as much of your palm to be touching the other person's palm as possible. It would feel quite weird if it was cupped like that and you were shaking someone's hand with a cup in between. It's ideal that you keep your hand as flat as possible and you try and wrap your thumb to your pinky finger. So when you grab their hand, try and keep your hand flat, and then try and wrap, I mean it's kind of hard for me to show you, but then try and wrap that to that. That's a good handshake. If you boys can see it. Yeah, try and wrap this one to that one. If you can give someone a good handshake, their first impression of you will be very, very good. Number 4 is improve your physical attractiveness. Now the way we're gonna do this is by doing weightlifting and looks maxing. And all the little spurgs are saying, Adam, you don't need to look good for people to like you. You can be just the way you are and you're beautiful however you look. So yeah, you don't need to put any effort into looking good. Shut the hell up, bro. You do. When someone first looks at you, the better you look, the better their first impression of you is gonna be. Sure, you can have an amazing personality, but if you can never make a good first impression with someone, no one will ever get to know that personality. So you need to look good, because when you first meet someone, their impression of you is gonna be the way you look. If you stay well groomed and you do skincare and you also hit the gym and you got some pretty good biceps and you got a pretty good chest, well, people are gonna think you're someone who actually takes care of their life and will take care of them too. And a girl especially, bro, you can't lie. When you're meeting a girl, of course they're gonna look at looks. And I'm by no means saying I'm like some super handsome guy, but it definitely helps that I have a little bit of muscle. And again, I'm not saying you need the Chris Hemsworth 10 out of 10 8-pack abs with the crazy huge biceps, but even just putting a little bit of care, even just putting a few months, maybe a year into the gym and consistently keeping up your physique is enough for people to immediately like you more. So you don't need to look crazy jacked like some bodybuilders who take steroids. It's okay if you just look like a small guy who has some pretty decent muscle to him. It's more so just about the fact that people can tell you're not lazy. Alright, number 5 is speak more confidently. Bro, stop saying ah and when you talk to people. When you first meet someone, it is so annoying, and the human brain thinks you're slow when every single sentence you're like like people will think you're slow, and you don't want people's first impression of you to think that you are slow. Like, bro, do you want to sound slow? Do you want people to think that you aren't mentally capable of having a conversation without saying or So stop saying it. You might say it once or twice because it's just a habit, but as much as you can, try not to say it at all, because all it shows is that you're not giving them your full attention. Most of the time when you're saying and it's because your mind's in a completely different world and you're just talking to them here while your mind's thinking about something else. And that's why when they ask you a question, you have to go, because you're not actually paying attention to what they're saying. So when you don't say those words, it just shows people that you're paying more attention to them. It's not that those words themselves make you sound slow. It's the fact that those words signify that you have to think of what to say, when you should have known what you should say because you were paying attention to them. Number 6 is be present. As I just mentioned, so many people are in a completely different world when they're talking to someone. And as much as you think someone can't realize, they can. The brain can read someone's facial expressions up to a few milliseconds. If I suddenly change my facial expression like that, you got a sense that I was grossed out. Because even for just a split second, if I was thinking of something nasty and my face did that facial expression of like, if you were talking to me and all of a sudden I made that facial expression, you would think that it's something wrong with you. You would think that you said something or that your face did something or that you have something on your face or on your shirt that made me grossed out. So as much as you think you can get away with not being present in a conversation, you cannot. People can tell. And the tip I'm going to give you, which I got from The Charisma Myth by Olivia Fox Cabanet or something. I forget what her last name is. Sorry for forgetting that. But the tip I got from her to be more present is to become aware of your toes and your breath. So when you're talking to someone, focus on them, give them the warm eye contact, and feel the sensation of your toes. It's gonna bring your mind back from whatever you're thinking about. If you're thinking about something bad that just happened to you or a text that you just got from someone, becoming aware of your toes will help you forget. And I've weirdly noticed that when I do this, people's face just suddenly smiles more. When I become aware of my toes and my breath and I become fully present and I'm answering their questions within seconds, I'm not saying or and I'm giving them my full attention, people automatically go like, hey, this guy's actually paying attention to me. Because so many people are used to talking to someone and having their attention fray off. Because everyone's attention span is in today's society. You can't even watch a YouTube video without having to scroll down and look at the comments. Why do you think you can't make a connection with people? Why do you think people don't like you and you can't make a good first impression with people when you can't even simply watch a YouTube video or something without being stimulated every 2 seconds? What do you think your brain will do when you're in a conversation? It will start to tap out and start thinking of things that are going to stimulate you, like TikToks and music. And finally, a little bonus step is just forget the script. Forget whatever you were gonna say next and just be fully present and listen to what they're saying and have a response that is according to what they're saying. Yeah, I know it's easy to go up to a girl with a script and have the perfect script, the perfect 10 things to say to a girl when you first meet her, and the perfect pickup line that always works. But honestly, the best thing to do to get someone to like you is just to be fully aware of what they're saying. When you talk to someone and they start mentioning personal things about themselves, they want you to bring it up. They want you to be like, oh, I'm so sorry that your dog just died. What happened and everything? I mean, that's a very dramatic example. But even if they're like, oh yeah, I had a little bit of a headache earlier today. That is the most important thing to someone. They don't want you to be like, oh cool, yeah, also, I was doing this thing today and it was the coolest thing ever. Nobody cares about how your day was. Alright, I'm gonna bring up something that's pretty controversial. But when you talk to someone and they ask you how your day is, it's just because they want you to ask them how their day is. They have something to tell you and they want you to listen. A good first impression is more important than anything else. And it's been found that first impressions stick forever. Even once they get to know you more, their first impression of you will stay. So if you make a good first impression, people will always think of you as good and they will immediately like you more. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more self-improvement content from a 15-year-old kid, go down and click on the subscribe and post notification button. It's a win-win for both of us. Be a doer, not a thinker. See ya.